Thank you for joining me, Kevin Mills, with you from High Five Bees and the Pacific Northwest Honey Company. I hope you're impressed by those brilliant and clever names. Two-part video. First part, we're going to just briefly cover what your bees or where your bees need to be right now. This is the 22nd of August, I believe. And then after I say that, I'll go into, the last video was sharing the first principle of 9 principles that I listed in an article that I was asked to write for the American Bee Journal, which appeared in the August edition, if you want to take a look at it. And the title of it is Thinking, I can't remember what they called the title of that. I believe it was Success Starts with Attitude. There we go, which is a really important title. But anyways, okay, so first part, the biggest thing is hopefully you've treated for mites already. If not, you're definitely pushing your luck and you need to get them treated now. Just get the mites knocked down and all the viral issues that come as part of that. So hopefully you've already treated for mites. The other thing, sorry, my nose is so itchy today. The other thing is to make sure that they put on good weight. I would aim at trying to have all of your feeding for getting your bees up to winter weight done within the next couple of weeks. If you're wintering in double deeps or, your deep boxes, you want to aim for around 120 pounds gross weight. If you're in singles, probably around 80 pounds or so. You want the hive to feel like a rock. I mean, that's really in a nutshell. And also pollen sub, very good thing to do as well, just to help extend that brood nest so you go in with a larger population, and also helps them put on winter fat going into, and that winter fat is what these winter bees are going to use. Sorry about this. What the winter bees are going to use for raising the spring brood, early spring, late winter brood after the 21st of December, when our day light starts lengthening again. The bees obviously can sense that and start brooding again. So anyway, so that's kind of the two main things, mite treatments and feeding. You don't want to feed them too late. So, okay, so success principle number 2. And, here's the thing. Success is never guaranteed, and success is not a static place that you achieve. I think oftentimes that is a really common misnomer. And here's the other thing too, is that success really needs to be what you define it, because the thing is that somebody might define success, say in beekeeping, as having 2,000 hives and, netting 300,000 a year, and which, good luck. Good luck. I mean, it's possible, but good luck. Anyway, but, you need to define success. I mean, we throw these terms around, and that's one thing that I introduced in the article right up front is, okay, here's 9 principles to help increase the probability of your success. But it's not guaranteed. Anyone who's been in business for any amount of time usually has or should have, but life will do this to them. There'll be a level of humility, because you can dot all your I's and cross all your T's, and sometimes stuff happens. COVID being a perfect example. Who in their business model, other than maybe a few outliers, had this as an expectation that you'd have the world economy shut down for a year and a half, or at least a year? And so, I mean, stuff happens. So anyways, so I just want to make it clear that this isn't, some foolproof formula for success, because once again, the 2 weaknesses of a statement like that is that there's a lot of things that go into success, and you also have to define for you what success is. If success is having 10 hives that are really healthy, and you're paying for your hobby by the honey they produce, it's paying for itself, that's success for you. Anyways, I digress. Principle number 2 in the article was take responsibility, take full responsibility. And I mentioned I think it was about 5 years ago, we lost over 90% of our colonies. And I was about ready to throw in the towel. And because there was a couple of other people involved, which I don't want to go into too much detail, because if a person wanted, they could probably figure out who they were. And it's the whole point is that even though they were involved in my operation, the responsibility for making sure that the mite levels were where they should have been fell on me. It didn't fall on anybody else because I hadn't hired a manager to take care of that for me. That was totally my responsibility. The other people who were involved in my operation were the people who were supposed to take care of the stock that I provided them. But I provided them with inferior stock, inferior colonies, because I wasn't on top of the colony health the way that I should. And really, a common thing, and here's a perfect example. I had a gentleman the other day that I was talking with, and he made the statement that, well, I'll work on myself as long as everybody I'm working with does too. And I told him, I said, if ever there's a life philosophy that's really going to mess you up, even though I may have used a bit stronger language than that, I said, that's it. Because there's a couple of things going on here. The first thing is that you're totally externalizing personal responsibility, which, sounds like a good idea on one hand because you don't have to take the consequences. But the thing is, no, you do have to take the consequences. And it's also communicating to your own mind that you're powerless to change. That it's your external circumstances or people that you're working with that are going to dictate whether you decide to be better or not. It's absolutely stupid. I've made statements like that before myself, but I realize now that is one of the most stupid things. And so, the whole thing is that in beekeeping, like any other industry, you have all sorts of externalizing done, such as, these packers are importing honey and undercutting our prices, or I've got somebody across the street that's using chemicals on their bees, and I want my bees to be treated a certain way. And I mean, there's all this stuff. But the whole thing is that too bad. And it kind of goes into this whole thing of the first principle being life is unfair. Life is unfair. But what we do have control over is to take ownership and take ownership of our reaction and our behaviors. One of my favorite books on this topic is written by a gentleman by the name of Jocko Willings, who is a retired Navy SEAL, and the name of his book is Extreme Ownership. He also wrote a second book called The Dichotomy of Leadership, which is equally a great book. But we have to take ownership and we have to take control. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. When we see failures in our operation, our beekeeping operation, take ownership. Even if it's a person that you had hired as a manager to manage certain portions of the operation, or if it's an employee that royally screwed up on the responsibility that you hired them for, they're responsible for that. But it empowers you to take ownership and say, okay, you know what? Let me go back and see, is there a way that I could have vetted this person better in the interview process? Was there signs that this person was giving me that they weren't the right fit, but I just didn't want to see it because I was busy or I just didn't want to deal with that reality? Take ownership of the things that you have direct control over, and moving forward, improve those obsessively. And that's really a very, very important lesson. It's very important that we don't give control away to external things or other people when we're really the ones in the driver's seat. So that's kind of the whole thing. Take ownership of what's going on around you. Take ownership of what you can directly affect and change. And one thing that's always within our control is our attitude and the story and significance that we attach to things that happen to us or around us in our business operations, in our life, etc., etc. Anyways, hopefully that made sense, and we'll catch you again soon.